These are trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Karagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're absolutely right, Digga. And this portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we have Rachel Dion Thunder on, and wow, that really rolls off my tongue. What a great name. Newly married, and welcome. And you are with the Indigenous Protector Movement, and I know we have an update that we want to get on right away and talk about. Welcome again for being on Native Roots Radio.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, I'm with the Indigenous Protector Movement. It's a new organization that myself and others are starting based here out of South Minneapolis. But what I'm really coming on to talk to you all tonight is to kind of give you an update on some of the work that has been happening for Elder Leonard Peltier. And some of you might have seen some of these announcements already on social media, but Indian Collective is co-hosting with Amnesty International a caravan to Washington, D.C. that'll start at the Jumping Bull Camp on September the 7th, and then be here in Minneapolis on the 8th, and then on to Chicago and Pittsburgh with a action in D.C. On the 12th, on September the 12th, for Elder Peltier's 79th birthday. And so our organization, the Indigenous Protector Movement, the Little Earth Protectors, AIM, and other organizations here in South Minneapolis are all pitching in together to host the caravan as they come through Minneapolis. So on the 8th, we will be hosting a community feast and rally at Cedar Field, which is a Friday, so September the 8th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. There will be food, there will be speakers, we'll have a drum group, and there also would be a chance for individuals to join the caravan to Washington, D.C. There are large charter buses with bathrooms and TVs that you can hop onto. You're just a form that you have to fill out to be able to go. All of your travel, your lodging, and food will be covered. And so we're really just trying to encourage as many people to participate as possible.
That's exciting news. And Rachel, we get listeners all the time. Maybe we can just do a quick over on Leonard Peltier and all the years he's been in prison and wrongfully so. If you could just give a quick overview on our Leonard Peltier.
Yeah, of course. Leonard Peltier is the longest held Indigenous political prisoner held by the United States government. Leonard Peltier has been wrongly incarcerated and held as an Indigenous political prisoner for nearly 5 decades. And enough is enough. A lot of organizations and prominent people over the years have come together and called for his clemency. He is actually coming up for parole in 2024. And so, as you know, Robert, we did the walk last year where we walked from Minneapolis to Washington, D.C. over a 2.5-month period of time. And this year there's the caravan happening. And so we want to keep as much attention and political pressure and public pressure and eyes on the White House as we approach 2024 and this potential for a parole or even clemency from Biden.
Exactly. And then we're here with Rachel Dion Thunder, and we're talking about, and she's with Indigenous Protectors Movement. And Rachel, one more time before we let you go, how do people get involved and the dates again?
So the caravan will begin on September the 7th in Jumping Bull, stop here in Minneapolis on the 8th, and then on to Chicago and Pittsburgh and into DC on September the 12th for an action there in Washington, DC from 12 to 2 p.m. And that'll be at the White House. If you want more information, you can go to Indian Collective's website, also to their social media pages and find these links. There's forms on there. There's a form you can fill out if you want to join the caravan.
Well, really appreciate your work. And we have not forgotten Leonard here on Native Roots Radio. We have a bumper with his voice we play almost daily. And then Haley ends the show, free Leonard Peltier every show. So we haven't forgotten our brother Leonard Peltier, and he's 79 years old. He's convicted of 2 murders that he did not do, and there's no proof of it, and we need to get him out as soon as possible and bring him home.
Yeah, it's Robert, it's actually aiding and abetting. His charges are not
That's
actually
right.
for murder. It's for aiding and abetting when his 2 co-defendants were found not guilty. So who's he aiding and abetting? Himself?
Right. And then we just talk about what happened with George Floyd, and the people that were aiding and abetting that murder only got 2 years, and he's been in for how long, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, Rachel, I know you're busy and things are happening, and it's 100 million degrees here in the Twin Cities. So I appreciate you stopping by. Do you have any last words before we let you go?
I would say call the White House, write the White House, and never give up. Free Leonard Peltier.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. Really appreciate you coming on, and maybe we can get another update before this action on the 7th.
Thank you, Robert.
All right. Have a great day. Wow. Just amazing. Haley, Leonard Peltier has been in for so long. He's 79 years old, and we need to get him out. And so this is great that it's still in the forefront and we're still talking about this. You know, Haley, there's things coming up. Maybe we should jump on real quick before we get the BA grandma on the show in the next segment. What do we have cooking here around the Twin Cities? And I know we're going to have a special show, and of course the state fair is coming. What do you got for us?
Absolutely. Well, you know, today is Tuesday. We've got NACD, Native American Community Development Institute, down on the Cultural Corridor in Minneapolis, Franklin Avenue. They're going to be having their Four Sisters Farmers Market again this Thursday. I believe that runs through October, and that is every Thursday from 11 to 3 at 1414 East Franklin Avenue. And while you're there, check out the Powwow Grounds coffee. Get yourself a coffee or a smoothie. I know this Thursday the high is looking to be, I think it was 79 or maybe a high of 80, but definitely a lot cooler than it is today. So
and tomorrow. And then again, too, just to blow our own horn, Haley, we have our booth at the State Fair at the West End Market, Native Roots Trading Post, our second year there, and really excited to see some people. We have some new products, some new swag, so come on down and check us out. And also on Sunday at the fair, Haley, we have Native American Heritage Day there, and that's pretty exciting, and I guess we'll be talking more about that as we get closer to it. And we'll be broadcasting, I want to say this too, live at the State Fair on Thursday and Friday, and maybe a couple other days depending how we feel, but definitely Thursday and Friday. And we're excited to be at the fair as always and feel blessed. And, you know, with the Native Roots Trading Post, we're fighting appropriation one t-shirt at a time, Haley.
Exactly. Yeah. Come out and see us at the fair, West End Market. Come say hi and maybe get a shout out on air.
Haley will interview you while I'm drinking orange juice and having a Pronto Pup. Oh,
there we go.
Right on. Hey, we got the BA grandma on next with an update. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on site from the best coffee growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. Howl!
How does this sound? Doesn't this sound better? If you've decided to level your home and build new or to renovate, hire Better Futures Minnesota instead to take it apart by hand. Think before you scrap. Think of the energy and greenhouse gases saved when someone repurposes your old cabinets, fixtures, and lumber. Think of all the resources saved by diverting those building materials from the landfill. Better Futures Minnesota makes it happen for you. Hennepin County residents and public entities, funds are available to make the environmentally responsible alternative comparable to a typical demolition. For more information, check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com or call 612-351-8650. And don't forget to shop the Reuse Warehouse in Minneapolis.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Oh, you had a pause there. I was like getting what is it going to be? What's it going to be? Hey, we're here with Jill Ferguson, Line 5, a water protector. We have an update with Jill, the BA grandma. We really appreciate coming on and giving us an update. A lot going on. Welcome.
Lot going on. Yeah, thank you so much for getting me on last minute like this. So yesterday I had a pretrial, and I gotta say the games that the judges, the entire system is playing is ridiculous. They disallow, pertinent information, expert, witness testimony. They'll call it irrelevant. Like we had presented two people that we wanted to be witnesses who have been on the ground on Line 3 with Waduka Amakweg and know exactly the devastation that Enbridge has caused to the ecosystem in Minnesota. And we wanted to have them on as expert witnesses as to show, we all know, the indigenous people told us exactly what was going to happen if this pipeline went through to this fragile ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened. So we wanted to present them to show that, us water protectors were informed, what was going to happen and if these went through. And it's why we took such drastic measures to try and stop this thing. So they don't want the juries to hear any of the truth. They don't want them to hear about the devastation that they caused. They don't want to hear about the 4 aquifer breaches. And so it's become a very, very unfair. This is not justice. I think I said last time as well, justice is only a concept in this country. So at my trial yesterday, they disallowed both of those expert witnesses. Originally, like 6-8 months ago, the judge had said he was going to allow me to use the necessity defense, which is an actual legal defense that the court has to approve you for, and you have to submit to rules to have that. Well, we met all the conditions to have that, but when the attorneys submitted all the proof and what they needed, I think they, the prosecutor, whoa, we can't let the jury hear that because then she's going to be found innocent. And we're going to know, why these people are water protectors and why they do what they do. So first the judge said he would allow it. And then he changed his mind after he got the 8-page a list of all the reasons that I was compelled to do what I did. So yesterday it came down to that the prosecutor said her only witness was going to be Yoakum, the officer that brutalized me, and Perella, the female Megan Perella, who isn't didn't do anything to hurt me. I have to say that I think she was appalled at what Yoakum was doing to me. So the prosecutor is just going to have Yoakum, and then since they were disallowing the two witnesses that I was going to call, so then it was just going to be me. I'm the only witness, so it was going to be me versus Yoakum again. Nobody to speak on behalf of me for me. So in the paperwork that the lawyer had to fill out, we had to say what my motive was. I had to define what my motive was. And, I consider myself a spiritual person. I believe in a higher power. I believe in the creator. I believe that we are responsible for creation, all of it, everything. And since we don't have rights of nature like we do for corporations, it's up to us to be the guardian and the caretaker and be good stewards for Mother Earth and the water and everything sacred. And so I made that argument, and I said, listen, this is under the Constitution, there is a clause, freedom of religion clause that says if I take an action and I'm doing it out of my belief and my faith, and it doesn't matter what you call that faith, every faith, no matter if you call it Christian, Muslim, whatever you call it, all the texts will tell you to protect creation, that's a gift to us that we're responsible to honor. So that's what I said. I have the right under the Constitution to have a witness come in who is I did a 22-day fast for climate justice with a minister friend of mine, and he wrote a book called Jesus Would Demand a Green New Deal. And so I wanted to have him come in as a witness to say, yes, she's been an environmentalist for a long time, and this is these are some of the things that she's done. So what this is, Robert and Haley, this is very, very interesting. I did the research on it. So I present my case, why I did it, because my faith and my spiritual belief commands me to do that. I mean, if you're, I grew up in a Christian household as a Lutheran, and, read the Bible cover to cover a couple times, way back then. And from Genesis to Revelation, throughout the entire Bible, it says that we are to protect the environment. So I insisted on that, on being able to present that as my reason for doing it. Now, after I did all the research on it, what it shows is that, so I make my case and what my belief is and why I was so compelled to do this at the headwaters of the Mississippi River. And so then it falls on the state to try and say, oh, well, she's not, and this is sincere in her belief. We don't think she's sincere in that belief. And so it's up to them to try and make that case, which good luck, because I've got a good history of showing that that's the case. Well, then when my lawyer looked further into it as far as Minnesota law, the Minnesota law is even more stern on religious rights and religious freedom. And so she, put in all the case law and everything to show that you cannot make someone a criminal and arrest them for exercising their faith, their belief. So that's what we got going on. And that's a great big new twist to this that neither the prosecutor or the judge thought was coming. I mean, they were prepared, and their, the instructions that they had made up for the jury would have clearly had to come back with a guilty verdict, and then I would have, been sentenced to jail, probation, whatever my punishment would be for my action. So this really threw a monkey wrench into their plan, because they were pretty confident they had me. So
Wow.
this is very exciting, and I'm excited because it will help environmentalists going forward. Because pretty much everyone believes that there's a creator, who made all this, created all this magnificence, and that yes, we're responsible.
Hey, I'm
So
here.
it's-
Let me just say this. I'm here with Jill Ferguson, Line 5 water protector. And also I asked the station if I could say this, badass grandma here giving us a report of what's happening. So we really appreciate you bringing this forward, because we've been fighting Line 3 for so many years, and then before that it was Standing Rock, and now we're here again in Wisconsin and Michigan with Line 5, and we really don't want to fall asleep. We want to stay awake.
That's right. Yeah, we have to stay on top of this, and I think you've seen some of the actions I've done in the last week to try and stop Line 5 and put the pressure on Evers to speak up on it. He's silent. He's still silent. No matter how many times I go there with my bullhorn and say, "Come on down, Tony." I don't know. I guess he's scared of old women. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm not going to stop calling on him to end the silence. Is what end your silence, Evers, and come out and take a position on this.
Well, Jill, Jill / badass grandma, I get to say that again. Give us a call to action, how we can support you and where we can go, and maybe a phone number to the governor's office.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Haley might have the links from last week that Cheryl put in, because this is also going to be on Zoom. My trial is going to be on Zoom as well, which I was surprised to hear that. So if they can't make it in person, watch in Zoom, so that the court needs to know, the judge needs to know, the prosecutors need to know that people are paying attention. So,
well, here's a call to action. Haley's got it on the screen here. Call the White House at 202-456-1111. Demand stopping Line 5. Really appreciate this. Any last comments, Jill?
Just prayers up, tobacco down, whatever it's going to take for the judge and the jury to see the light, and to these prosecutors. I was listening to a Zoom this morning with one of the cases in Aitkin County, and this person has a felony charge, and the prosecutor, Salva or something like that, lied, and our attorney brought that up, and the judge could see it, and wasn't giving information that our side needed. They've just really got it rigged against the water protectors and the activists, and that's just wrong. And people need to speak up about that. You need to call Keith Ellison. Let's put that number up if you can find that, Haley, because that's his field. And this shouldn't be all up to Enbridge paying the sheriff department's $8.6 million to arrest us and get 1,000 of us into the court as criminals.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the update, Jill Ferguson, Line 5, Line 3 water protector, advocate, and badass grandma. I get to say it again. We'll be right back. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is David from The David Pakman Show, where we expose the Hatriots, liars, and Trumpists. Weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. Outfront Minnesota is a driving force behind LGBTQ plus advocacy in our state, and they're gearing up to honor our state's monumental achievements in protecting our LGBTQ plus neighbors. While other states took steps backwards, Minnesota had the greatest advance in LGBTQ plus rights in 10 years. We showed that Minnesota is committed to affirming our values as a state that trusts individuals to make informed decisions about their bodies and lives, while also taking pride in delivering exceptional health care and supporting communities in need. We passed a conversion therapy ban and a trans refuge bill. And now Outfront Minnesota is ready to lead Minnesota towards even a brighter future. To celebrate, Outfront Minnesota is hosting their annual gala, where we bring in together more than 700 guests at Allianz Field on Thursday, September 14th. The event celebrates a year of legislative wins while honoring diverse communities, propelling Minnesota forward into next year. Again, that's Thursday, September 14th at Allianz Field, with a dinner at 6 and party at 8. So come celebrate Minnesota's progress on LGBTQ plus rights and order your tickets at outfront.org. Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
We expect our information in real time. US Med carries continuous glucose monitors, which provide real-time readings of blood glucose levels. US Med is an approved provider for Medicare and over 500 private insurers. So call 800-730-8405 today for a free insurance and Medicare benefits check. As easy as, that's 800-730-8405.
When it comes to houses, disassembly is our game, deconstruction is our fame. There are some bucks for your project. Better Futures Minnesota is your contact.
Instead of demolishing your home, let us take it apart by hand, and we can find the building materials a new home. Limited funds are allotted in 2023 for Hennepin County residents and public entities to make deconstruction even more affordable. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
You know how it is with vacuum cleaners. You buy them, you break them, then you throw them away, right? Well, not necessarily. Often, fixing your vacuum can be cheaper than replacing it. Ever heard of A1 Vacuum in Roseville? They offer free estimates. So if you wish your vacuum worked like new again, drop by. A1 Vacuum is ready to help clean up your vacuum cleaner act. Find us at a-1vacuum.com or call 651-222-6316.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Dan Riva. Today, sun, high 74. Tonight, clear, low 56. Tomorrow, more sun, high 79. Discover the best peach cobbler in the world, plus sandwiches and coffee at Latunji's Palette, located at 1400 Park Avenue South in Minneapolis. Latunji's gourmet desserts can also be found at Lunds and Byerly's. Check latunjispalette.com.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Nocti's Four Sisters Farmers Market, which is open every Thursday on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis along the American Indian Cultural Corridor, and that is open from 11 to 3. They also accept cash, card, and EBT.
Right on. Hey, we're here with Bob Blake, and we are here with the Solar Bear with the Solar News. Robert, I just got to first welcome you on here, and the planet's burning up. I mean, it's 100 degrees here. It's 1,000,000 degrees here, and we have our brothers and sisters in Hawaii. We have things, too much rain in California. And when will people listen? And when will this government really listen?
Right, Robert. I mean, so Maui, the Hawaiian Electric Company, right, is now looking at lawsuits that are being filed against the electric company out there, Robert. And so, what this is basically is it's our jet stream that flows across. Usually, it's supposed to flow across the middle of the country, but unfortunately, because of heat coming from the ocean now, because heat absorbs a lot of the heat that comes in from the sun, right? And so that is now throwing off our jet stream, and it's picking up all this moisture from places like Hawaii, and it's carrying it over into the United States area, and it's dropping down, in these areas. So it's like carrying like big lakes, right?
Wow.
And that's where we're getting all this flooding from. So when you start seeing all this flooding, that's where that's coming from. And but if I think you've seen probably, like, we've all seen pictures of like droughts, and you kind of see the cracks in the in kind of like the floor, wherever you're at, and that's that moisture, right, that's being sucked up from the jet stream, and it's carrying across, and it's dumping it into these other areas, and it's flooding them. And unfortunately, this is what happened to Hawaii, and that's happening to Hawaii now. And these, and because of the heat, from global warming, it's causing, the wires and, the transformers to overheat. And this is why, Robert, we've been talking about for the longest time why distributed energy resources are so important, because they take the pressure off the grid, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of it like a checkerboard, and you think about pieces on the checkerboard, that this is where we're going to produce energy. We're going to produce energy for that particular area, and then that's going to be distributed into these communities. Well, that's going to take pressure off the grid, and these electric lines and whatnot are not going to have to work so hard. And unfortunately, these things are now catching fire, and you have big fires now, like the one that's happening in Hawaii. And of course, this happened in California. It happened in Oregon. We've been, this is just going to be a common thing now, until our communities and our government officials, wake up to all this and say, okay, we need to start putting distributed energy resources in every community. We need to put solar, renewable energy, batteries. We need to start thinking about the future and it being more resilient and adapting to the ever-changing climate. But here's the other thing, Robert, and it's hard to place the blame, right? Because everyone, we're listening to scientists that said that, these things were going to be happening within the next 100 years. You know what I mean? Like, this is, unfortunately, that's not the case, Robert. These things are happening now. And so, I think some of our smartest people have even, admit that, they've been wrong, and that we have to start now. And so this is why it's so important now, and why the Inflation Reduction Act and, everything that happened, this last year, is so important, because there's a lot of money that the government came down with for communities all across this country to start thinking about adaptation strategies and resiliency.
Yeah. And it's funny too, even little weird things like this, because it's so hot, Robert. I mean, I was coming back from Wisconsin this afternoon, and there's like 2 big grass fires. I mean, that's kind of just a little teeny symptom of what's happening on a large scale across Turtle Island.
Well, yeah. And the thing about it is, I fought fire out in West Missoula, Montana one year with Spirit Lake Nation. And, I kind of wasn't taking it really seriously until like, literally I was sleeping in class. And then the guy said, okay, we had 7 firefighters like die the night before. And I was like, what? What is going on? and they talked about how, like, how fast the fire moves because it sucks up all the oxygen, Robert.
Mhm.
And it's like you're standing there and you can't breathe. Like, I could see you and I could look at each other, right? But we can't breathe because the oxygen is being sucked up by the fire. And so what they teach you to do is they teach you to dig a hole, put your fire shield over you, and basically breathe through the ground. Now, they say that when you get out of there, your lungs are going to be full of dirt, but you're going to live, And so, these are the kinds of things that I think that we need to start thinking about as far as like, how are we going to build in the future? Are we going to build with kind of more resilient and more kind of, materials that are going to be kind of, less fire prone, right? And how are we going to go ahead and distribute these energy resources? Because, our usage, our need for air conditioning is only going to get greater. And we know that air conditioners, are a big contributor to greenhouse gases. So, these are a lot of things that, I think that we're going to have to start planning. And other states are going to have to start planning legislation like 100% clean energy, like the state of Minnesota just did. They're going to have to probably think about putting together green banks, just like Minnesota just did. They're going to have to do a lot of this legislation. And I'd really put together tribal energy advisory boards, just like the state of Minnesota just did. I mean, I'm sorry, everyone, but everybody out there that's not, they need to be thinking about this and start preparing now. And I cannot stress how important that is.
Well, just back up a second to what you were talking about when you were training to be help with a fire, and you had some of these insights. We had, people not with that training jump into the ocean in Hawaii and were there for 5 hours because the fire was raging. We have 850 people that possibly are incinerated and they can't find them. That's over 1,000 people that perished because of maybe poor planning or whatever, but it was global warming, wildfire with tremendous amounts of wind.
Yeah. And I tell people, go outside right now and stick your hand out in front of the sun and let it sit there for a good minute. Okay. Now, times that 1,000, that's what it feels like, the fire being blown by you. Any fireman who's listening right now could tell you that that's how hot it is, and so you can't put yourself, near those flames because, it literally will melt the skin off of your body. That's why people were jumping in the ocean. That's why people were jumping in the water to survive. And I'm telling everyone, this is serious stuff. And more, and especially with tribal nations, we talk a lot about tribes, but tribes being out in rural areas, and that us not getting enough water, we're going to have to start thinking about how do we recycle the forest a lot sooner and quicker, because they're going to become tinder boxes. And you see this problem currently happening in Canada right now, Robert. And so that's why this is really, really important. And I stress the tribes right now, you're not on any little island. You're with the rest of us. This is going to be happening, and we have to start taking the stuff very seriously and start going towards renewable energy, training our community members to be electricians, linemen, because people will die in this heat, and that's the scary thing, right? And so those are, and that's just many of the little things that we're gonna have to do.
Well, it's amazing too. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but when it's cold, we have wind coming from Canada, and it's smoky, and the air is bad. When it's hot, it's so hot, and we don't have the bad air, so to speak, but it's hard to breathe because it's so hot.
Yeah. And those are the other things too. Like, we're gonna just have these serious extremes, and we also know too, Robert, that in a warming planet, that a planet is going to cook up different viruses. So think of our planet being an oven, and it cooking up different types of microbes in that, get into the food chain supply. So this is what COVID-19 was about. You know what I mean? And so these type of things that are happening currently and are being cooked up, in the planet are going to be out into, the area. And that's why, we need to start, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We have the technology now to transition away from fossil fuels, right? And that's why this is so important for us to go to solar, to go to electric vehicles, storage. And so, we need to do this now because if we don't, and we continue down this path, Robert, we know that we're just committing eco-suicide.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Maybe next segment we can talk about this a little bit. But I know a few years ago, Robert, they put water on the stock exchange, and then we had people here coming to our lakes from all over Turtle Island and trying to suck water out, whether for whatever reason, because they don't have water in their states.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that too when we come back. Hey, we're here with Robert Blake, Solar Bear with the Solar News, and we're talking about, what's happening here in the climate. And also, we have call to action. Let's go solar. Let's get it going here. We'll be right back after this short break, Haley.
Stay with us.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If your home was hit with the most recent storms, trust the most well-reviewed exterior construction company, Snap Construction, for a free home inspection.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. There are a lot of great construction companies in town. My advice is to take your time and do your research. Make sure they are locally owned and that they guarantee their craftsmanship for life. Also, you want to find a company that's been in business for at least 10 years. You want to work with a company that's going to be there long after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims, and we'll help you through the process.
Don't go with the out-of-town fly-by-night contractor. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. Trust Snap Construction for your free storm damage evaluation. For your free storm damage evaluation, call Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP or visit them online at snapconstruction.com. That's 612-333-SNAP or snapconstruction.com.
Hi, everyone. Listen to my show, The Matt McNeil Show, weekday afternoons at 3 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Every day we talk about politics, celebrating the Democrats taking control of Minnesota, but we also talk about a lot of other things, too. Parenting, sports, the arts, music. If it affects you in Minnesota, we'll talk about it. Plus, we have a lot of regular guests giving you national and local insight on the issues affecting you. Weekday afternoons, it's The Matt McNeil Show, 3 to 5 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, I'm here with Bob Blake, the Solar Bear with the Solar News here, and we just howled, Bob, and I'm thinking, how are our relatives, our ones with hooves and tails and wings, how are they dealing with this catastrophe going on around Turtle Island? Not just to mention really the hot weather here in Minnesota and the upper Midwest and all over Turtle Island, but just like the fires and the water. And I mean, my goodness.
Yeah. Robert, unfortunately, species, declining, at an alarming rate, due to climate change, is just so, fast right now. I think they said 42,100 species are at risk of extinction due to climate change. and then I think that when we think about that, we think about, like, like you said, the animals and our four-legged brothers and winged, sisters, and, but like the plants and the trees, that they're also going extinct too, because, obviously because of the drought conditions. And, it's just, this is something, everyone, that we have to act on, like and Robert, we've been talking about this, I want to say, since the beginning we started the show.
Yeah.
We have been talking about all this happening, and, unfortunately, even I thought that, we had more time than is currently being presented to us. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's really amazing that this is happening, and it's happening quick, like you said, because we're maybe 50, or you said 100 years ahead of schedule now with the climate change. I mean, remember just a week ago what was happening in Alaska too. They had glaciers melting at a record rate, and they were having tremendous amounts of water and river action happening, just pulling out of houses. And it's just not here, it's everywhere.
No, there's nowhere to, I'm sorry, people, but there's nowhere to run or hide from this. This is going to happen. And when you look at the United States Army, and Robert, for the last 10 years, they have been preparing for this. They have been creating microgrids on their bases. They have been fortifying them, to deal with climate change. It really makes you think to yourself, like, what do those guys know that we don't know? Exactly. But when we were talking about, our water resources, and people were, giving, the water protectors and, people like Winona, a hard time about, wanting to protect the water. Just think about that. Like, I mean, these water sources and aquifers are, diminishing right in front of our eyes. I want to give you a quick couple of statistics here. The Colorado River supports 1.4 trillion of the U.S. economy. 16 million jobs over on the western side of the United States, and 30 tribal nations. I mean, 40 million people. It's ridiculous, Robert. And this thing is depleting at an alarming rate right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one. We have a lot of, usually when you're on, Bob, and we really always appreciate you coming on, we talk about some positive things happening all around Turtle Island with renewables. But now we talk today, and it's almost putting your finger on a dike with a little hole and trying to stop things. It's tremendous, because I mean, we're in a drought. I drive by the Mississippi River, and it's way down. Not to mention lakes, but that's that water goes through a lot of different states and before it hits the ocean, and that's got to affect them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And what they're saying now, Robert, too, is that, like, our snowpack, like kind of like how we kind of replenish all of the like water in our like ground source, for the trees, right? And for all the, for all the, vegetation that we have, it currently is only going to get worse. So, so meaning that, we're going to have problems in the future with our food supply, and the Midwest is the breadbasket of the world. And so if, imagine if we can't, feed people now, we're going to have some big problems. So people always tell me, oh, wow, Bob, it's the heat and everything. That's, all that. I said, no. It's going to be the food supply first. That's what we have to worry about right there. So things like, putting solar, along with our farm systems, we talk about agrovoltaics. These are smart ways that we have to start doing this. And I just want to say that, I got a friend over in Europe, and he called me up one time. And this is, he's paying for this international call to me, Robert. But he was so excited because the EU green lighted like 13 gigawatts of like agrivoltaics across Europe. So, meaning that, they realize that if they can't grow food for their people, they're going to have problems. So they're building out this infrastructure of agrivoltaics so they can protect their crops. And I think this is just really smart policy, and one that I think the United States, and obviously I think the state of Minnesota is also going to be looking into and doing themselves.
Yeah, we gotta. This is not normal, and I think it's been unnormal for a long, long time, and it's a little frightening, and it's a wake up call if you're watching any of the news or reading the papers, what's happening around Turtle Island, but also step outside if you're here in Minnesota, where it's 100 degrees right now at 4 minutes to 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people really need to think about, please stay cool, hydrate, try to limit your trips, stay out of the sun, let's be conscientious of supporting candidates that are climate champions, that are going to take climate change seriously and put that at the top of their agenda, because everything about the environment is going to affect every part of city government, state government, and of course federal government. So please, everyone, please vote for those climate champions that are running on behalf of the environment.
Absolutely. Hey, Bob, we don't do this a lot, and we're winding down here. Shout out your websites and Facebook, and so people can check on all the great work you're doing. We feel privileged to have you on here because you become a national spokesperson and speaker all over Turtle Island, and it's great to have you on and really talk turkey about positive solutions to what's happening. And today it's just a kind of a little bummer because it seems like everything's coming to a head, but could you do that for us, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely, everyone. www.solarbear.earth, www.nativesun.org. Check out both those websites, and electricnation.info is the electric vehicle charging network, intertribal charging network website, and that's the solar news with the Solar Bear.
Thank you so much, Robert Blake, Peeny Gigi. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance from Chief Plentycoops. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote. Vote, vote, vote. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Crooner Supper Club invites you to Maggie's Lounge, an exciting new bar lounge. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 for cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. So stop by Crooner Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65 for dinner, drinks, and live music from both big-name local and national artists. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off.
My name's Amber from the Ho-Chunk Nation. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our live call-in talk show airing every Saturday from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights you need to know to live and age well. Each week, we talk with guests who provide answers to important questions regarding healthcare, elder care, end-of-life care, and self-care for caregivers, and help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 on AM 950 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Hot from 30 Bells on Main Street in Hopkins. My co-founder Tom and I developed our restaurant to celebrate everything Midwestern cuisine has to offer. Our upbeat neighborhood gathering place brings together bright personalities, bold recipes, clean ingredients, and craft spirits that play with the unique flavors of the Midwest. The menu at 30 Bales is inspired by seasonal ingredients grown close to home. Some favorites include our devilish eggs, beet salad, short rib pot pie, and our decadent burgers. Join us for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. Go to 30bales.com to learn more.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Dan Riva. Today, sun, high 74. Tonight, clear, low 56. Tomorrow, more sun, high 79. Discover the best peach cobbler in the world, plus sandwiches and coffee at Latunji's Palette, located at 1400 Park Avenue South in Minneapolis. Latunji's gourmet desserts can also be found at Lunds and Byerly's. Check latunjispalette.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.